Our first guest this morning who's joining us on panel is Denise Pelletier. She's a human resources practitioner, a writer, a speaker, and a traumatic brain injury survivor.
Yeah.
Let's start with that, young lady. What happened in 2001?
Well, what started off as a vacation with some friends quickly turned into being a nightmare. I was in British Columbia and got onto an ATV, my first and last time.
It was your first time on an ATV?
Yes, and got thrown from it, landed on my head, so I had...
Not wearing a helmet?
Correct, correct. And was airlifted from BC back to the Foothills Hospital, where I spent the next 2 months.
Wow.
Just when I was admitted to the hospital, I was given less than a 5% chance of survival. Living an independent life, and that's, sorry, let me reframe that. I was given less than a 5% chance of living an independent life should I survive. I immediately went into surgery. I had a blood clot in my brain. It was called an acute subdural hematoma. And thank you, Chip, for nodding your head. I'm not clear on all the medical terminology. And what happened after that was put into an induced coma, and everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. I had a secondary brain injury with a contusion. I had went into septic shock. It was my heart became complicated. I had a crazy amount of pressure in my brain. Intracranial pressure, what's normal is about 10 to 15, which is where we're at right now. Mine jumped as high as 50.
My goodness.
All these types of things went on, and finally there became a stage, I think it was around day 18, where basically I'd been given so many drugs, my internal organs, my family was told my internal organs were going to start to shut down. So they gradually started to remove some of the medication, eventually removing all of it. Well, it was a lesser of two evils. They weren't sure what was going to happen, if I was going to be able to come out of it or not. My family was given a really dismal outlook. They said best case scenario, if I were to come out of it, I'd have an awareness, but I'd be in assisted living the rest of my life.
Denise, that was 2001.
Yes.
We're in 2015.
Yes.
Is part of the reason you're here today because of the guy sitting beside you?
Yes. There were several miracles that happened, but number one, Chip Doig was the head of ICU while I was there, and he was involved in making a lot of very difficult decisions on medication, what to do, what not to do, and from what I understand from my family, you were definitely kept on your toes. I was a bit of a challenge.
So
she was a challenge?
As I said to you, Phoenix, she's more a Phoenix to me than you are.
I completely understand it. Yeah, she rose to where she is today. Yeah. From this experience and this trauma that you experienced, you've led quite an interesting life, to say the least, since 2001.
Yes, I have. So I came out of that. I had to learn how to talk, walk, and read again.
Hold on, let's slow down here. You had to learn how to talk, and to walk, and to just basically learn to live again.
Yes. I went through the brain injury rehabilitation unit at the Foothills Hospital. Was great. Put me into some therapy, and then I went home and I continued on with that therapy. After 4 months, I returned to work, and while on the outside, everybody said, "Wow, you look great," and I was walking, and there was nothing externally visible. I had a few scars, but nothing major. It was the internal, coming to terms with things and having to realize and recognize that I had some cognitive deficits, what the impact of that was. And that was a real, I call it a rehabilitation and healing journey, because that really has been a journey, and it wasn't just 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years even. It was really over a decade to kind of continue to work through that. And in the process of doing that, you're right, I have been able to do some extraordinary things that I don't think anybody, myself included, back in 2001, 2002, would have imagined.
Next week is Brain Awareness Week, and that's part of the reason why we have both of you two on today. You've taken what has happened to you and made it into a positive. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes.
You've now become a writer and now become a speaker.
Yes.
As a writer and a speaker, what are your key messages that you share with your audience?
Well, I'm in the process right now of writing a book, so I go into more depth of my journey there and what I've learned. Last week I was a guest speaker at a conference, and what I like conveying in there is, we all have moments in life where we're going to be going through adversity, whether it's a life-changing event or dealing with something that you've got a personal struggle with. And what I like to tell people by sharing my story is, you can tap into yourself, you can find the courage and bring on that resilience so you can continue on, find that path and carry on with that path in living to your most highest potential. That's certainly what I find I did. It wasn't an easy journey.
Sure.
And through my writing, I do weekly blogs on my website, denise-pelletier.com, and in there I kind of fit into their elements of my journey and what sort of stood out for me, because I know that others in reading that can always take away something from that as well.
She puts a smile on your face, doesn't she?
Oh, absolutely. For Denise to survive, it's
number one.
It's a huge, well, number one. And it's a huge group that was involved. So it starts off with STARS, and I've been a longtime supporter of STARS, having been on their board, but they truly are a remarkable organization that save lives for Albertans in BC, for people, for residents of BC, and now across our western provinces. To the surgical team that operated on Denise, to my ICU team that looked after her. And let me tell you, the unsung heroes in the ICU are our nurses, our respiratory therapists, and others who do the minute-by-minute, hour-by-hour care of patients
monitoring.
like Denise. Yep.
Right.
The rehabilitation specialists who looked after Denise after we had cared for her. And perhaps most importantly, apart from Denise, her family, because this isn't just Denise's journey, it's a journey for her family as well. But it certainly puts a smile on my face.
And to all of us as well, too, who are listening to your amazing story. We have a chance to spend more time with Denise as well, too.